Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's yours truly, Brandon Rutherman, for the College Football Kickoff Show and the series finale of the College Football Kickoff Show 10Q series. I have a lot to go over with all of you, including our final two questions to wrap up the 10Qs. Got a lot of good news, nothing bad. I only bring good news to this one. So let's get to the obvious, shall we? I guess we would consider all of this top stories material, so why don't I just dive right into it? It should come as no surprise to all of you that in light of the upcoming release of the College Football 25 video game, I am here to confirm that I have bought my PS5. I also bought a headset mic. I'll explain why shortly. And yes, College Football 25 has been pre-ordered. That much I can confirm. I'll even go one better and say it's the deluxe edition, which means 3 days early access. I got 50 days. At the time of this episode, I have 50 days until it enters the PS5. That much is a definite. And I bet you're wondering, what's the story within the story? Pretty simple, actually. I have every intention on perhaps maybe broadcasting some of the games that get played on College Football 25. Not all of them, but just some of them. Some of the select games. But it solely depends on what I can and can't do in the College Football 25 video game. I find it very interesting considering that with all the things that I can do, like for instance, my personal favorite, the team builder feature, which means I could create W and J. I can create the team. Probably would have everything jacked up to 99, but hey, I work for the college. So there is that. There's also the luxury of makeshifting the schedule, which prompted an idea, one in which I'm entertaining the thought of. Now, those of you who are watching this, you guys remember the old kickoff classics from the 80s and 90s? Yeah, it would be, I think, the only surefire way to take all the guesswork out of finding a true, honest to goodness game that everybody is looking forward to right out of the get-go. I am contemplating on possibly putting Oregon and Alabama on a field. Possibly. It's just a question of where and when, and whether or not I can do my due diligence and find a way to take a couple of, a couple of non-conference games or games against FCS schools. Because, Alabama has two already. They usually have two every year. So we got to at least take that out of the mix. And, Oregon, I think, has, I want to think they have one. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at the schedule as thoroughly as I would. But that thought is being explored right now. And it's just a question of comparing the schedules, seeing what the game itself tells me. Yeah, there's a lot more to it than just playing the game. It's trying to manufacture it in such a way where, there's a part of me that wants to make it count. But I think for that to count, I would have to do another wonderful thing, and that's realign the conferences. Have all the Eastern teams be in the East, have all the South teams in the South. Old school style. You know, Pitt, West Virginia, Penn State, Maryland, Rutgers, Temple. Who am I leaving out? Boston College, Syracuse, things like that. But at this point in the going, it's anybody's guess. I won't know until 50 days from now when I have the early access. And probably after those 3 days when the game officially fills up the consoles of every PS5 around the country. It's going to be, I think, so much fun trying to process every nook and cranny of how this is going to be done. Because I want to get started on the insanity before the real insanity starts. That way, when we get down to November and December and bowl season comes around, I will be in the middle of mine while they get started in theirs. That way, when we get to January 20th for the national championship game, everything will align itself just right. So, that's the plan. But I always have a contingency in place. I always do. It's been that way since the old days of when I used to play the college game. But my goodness, is it going to be fun. The PS5 has been bought. It has been installed. There is a headset mic that will likely be used. And I should also point out that there's also, in the event that I actually broadcast these games, right now I can tell you right off the top that I'm not at all certain if it's going to be done on YouTube, but I can tell you that I have done some work on Twitch. And the last time I used Twitch for anything sports-wise was 10 months ago. So there are some options that are going to be explored in due time. But nevertheless, two birds got killed with one stone. The PS5's been bought and installed. College Football 25 has been pre-ordered, the deluxe edition with 3-day early access. And let's go ahead and throw one more log into the fire just to, drive all the points home. My copy of Lindy's College Football, their preview issue, has already been ordered, and it should be on its way either this week or next week. So I will have my nose in the pages while the waiting game continues until what I guess would be July 16th now for that 3-day early access. So we have 3 birds killed with one stone. And they all won't be dead until we have everything all set and ready to go. So it's been a long time coming. I am so excited for all of this. You guys have no idea. Speaking of W&J, let's get to reality here for just a moment, if you will. I've been informed by our wonderful facilities manager, Mr. Ron Giles at W&J. He has informed me that there will likely be a new field installed at Cameron Stadium this fall. This goes back in April when we had those 2 days of heavy rains about a week apart from each other that completely flooded the field, the locker room, the Hall of Fame, all of it. And it's the most expensive option on the table, but despite the fact that The turf that we currently had lasted, I think, about 4 or 5 years. The normal lifespan of a synthetic turf of that nature, without any kind of substantial rainfall over that short a period of time, is about 12 years. 10 to 12. Let's put it that way. We've only had this for just those precious and few years, but we are now looking to get it installed. It's just a matter of making sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. So, being that as it may, we should have it ready in time for when the team comes back for fall camp in early August. So, that much we now know is all covered. And now, after 10 minutes of top story material, it now gives me the great pride and pleasure to wrap up the 10Q series with our final 2 questions that were brought to me from none other than the fine folks at the College Football Commission, who submitted some great ones for this. And the first one, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. Just how did I get into college football? Well, first and foremost, it helps when you grow up in southwestern Pennsylvania at a time when the Pittsburgh Steelers were winning Super Bowls, the Pittsburgh Pirates had won the 1979 World Series, and Pitt and Penn State were always in the conversation in college football. Top 5, top 10, they were always in there. Pitt had won the 76 national championship, but I didn't start following football until about, I'm going to venture a guess and say 79. And I say that in part because this question prompted me to do a little ditch digging. And in my ditch digging, did I say ditch digging? He said, what? Ditch digging. Oh my God. First controversy and now ditch digging. Oh my God. Ditch digging. I had to do a little ditch digging on Wikipedia to try to figure out one of the first games that I can recall watching on television. And, back then I really didn't watch any single game from start to finish, but I always knew they were on. And if the weather was bad outside, where I couldn't play football, I could always watch a game inside. And the first known game, I mean, it's not official. There's no fossil records to prove of this, but I'm going to venture a guess and say that probably the first one that I remember coming across was the 1979 Cotton Bowl between Notre Dame and Houston. Now, I knew of Pitt, and to some small degree I knew of Penn State, but I didn't watch a lot of their games, mainly because Pitt wasn't on national television a good bit. And back then, watching college football was at its extreme minimum in terms of, nationwide coverage, regional coverage, that kind of thing. But once we got around to bowl season, it was a different story. But it was Notre Dame in Houston, and the only thing I remembered back then was not the fact that Joe Montana, the Notre Dame quarterback, was sick as a dog. No. I remember Lindsey Nelson calling the game. That's it. I don't remember who won or who lost. All I remembered was that they played. And of course, it was sometime later when I came across that game and I saw that Notre Dame had come back from 22 down with a very sick Joe Montana running the offense and rallied to beat the Houston Cougars 35-34. So that was sort of the start of it. The rest of it The rest of the story, I would think, will have to be told in my series called Brando's College Football, which will highlight a lot of the games, the players, the coaches, everything that I could possibly think of in regards to college football over the last 4 decades, almost 5 now. But that was, I think, one of the earliest forays into college football. Now that I think about it, since I mentioned Notre Dame, yeah, Notre Dame, I would imagine, would be the one team that I could single out on, given the fact that the first player that I actually took notice of was a running back named Vegas Ferguson, who was a starting running back, as I said, and had a pretty good college career at Notre Dame. Not so much in the pros when he played with the New England Patriots. He was stuck in a crowded backfield with the likes of Don Calhoun, Mosi Tupu, Mark Van Egan. I don't know if Sam Cunningham was in the fold at that time, but it was caught in the crunch. And that depth chart was pretty loaded back then for the Patriots, as I recall. But the name Vegas, I think, kind of gave birth to the infatuation that we look forward to every year. The same infatuation that we found ourselves immersed in front of our televisions watching the Key and Peele East-West Bowl sketches and seeing all of those crazy names pop up on screen and the players and the personalities that Key and Peele so greatly perfected. I mean, it's an absolute laugh fest. If you haven't seen the East-West Bowl sketches from Key and Peele, do yourself a favor. You will not be disappointed. It is hysterical. They even did an East-West rap song, or a rap battle, I suppose, a turf war. And it made for some pretty good entertainment. Of course, I always liken that to when I was a little kid watching those Bob Hope Christmas specials, and he would have the AP All-American teams from offense and defense. So I long for those days. But anyway, getting into college football was a true baptism by the fire of football, for sure. That was really the starting point. But there were other games, there were other teams that kind of served as additional logs that got thrown into that fire. Namely the ones I mentioned, plus Georgia, Nebraska, Alabama, and an assortment of others. But again, we'll cross the bridge to get to my Brando's College Football series when we get to it. So, good question there. And then comes another question and perhaps another segue to another project that I'm going to be working on, which basically involves game day. So the College Football Commission asked me, do I have my own game day schedule, or do I have a set of rituals? It used to be it was always about music. I would always play music before any game that I would go to, like the day before, the night before, or whatever. But with college now, it's different because, first of all, since I started doing the Kickoff show, which was under 2 different names over the last couple of years, it was pretty much a given that I wanted to make sure that I had my work put in before ESPN's College Game Day, because I wanted to watch Game Day. And, I mean, how can you not watch College Game Day? It gets me more ready than any show of mine could ever produce. By the time I get to the business of doing the shows from Cameron. It's a different breed of animal. At home, it's easy because I can get it done and get it uploaded before 9 o'clock in the morning, before game day. At Cameron, though, don't quite have that luxury, but I do have one thing that works for me, and that's pretty much the fact that I could go to the stadium, and I don't drive to the stadium. I walk to it because I need, not only is not so much the destination, it's the journey, but I'm trying to rehearse things. I have index cards in my pockets. I have lanyards in my pockets. You know, when you get to wintertime, it's essential to have everything you need for that day's broadcast that's going to be uploaded on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. So, by and large, there really isn't any room for anything except for, you know, when you get up at 5:30, 6 o'clock and you jump right out of bed and you start doing it. There's no rehearsal. It's just, you already got your cards prepared, you already got the lanyards prepared, and you just get right to it. And that was the thing last year, was that we had to divide the allotment of games for a particular Saturday, and we were basically making it up as we went along. We were having whiteout picks, helmet picks, and of course the lanyard selections had to be done at Cameron as well as at home, but Cameron especially. Cameron's like the official game day kickoff show place to do it at, because those are the most important games, the lanyard selections, and those ones centered on the ones that you're seeing on television nationwide. So from what I can tell you right now, we have pockets of game times now coming out a bit here and there over some of the games that are going to be on television. We already know about Texas and Michigan. I will be at Cameron September the 7th when W&J has its home opener against St. Vincent, and then there's a great possibility that Texas and Michigan will be the designated big one for that particular weekend. With apologies to College Game Day and the fact that they're going down to College Station, Texas, for Notre Dame and Texas A&M, hey, more power to them. But Texas and Michigan, and my money, is the bigger game, and really they should be there. After all, Michigan is the defending national champion. So I'm excited about that one because, I mean, it's not often that Michigan and Texas get together for anything. The only other time they did was the Rose Bowl. That was Vince Young and a kicker named Dusty Mangum, who hit the game winner that beat the Wolverines. And I was not a happy camper that day because I was not a Mac Brown fan. He lobbied for his team to be playing in, you know, that deep into the postseason, a bowl season. So, yeah, he comes out smelling like a rose, and then the very next year, they won it all. They beat USC. So, I'm not worried about Mac Brown anymore. He's trying to right the ship of the North Carolina Tar Heels for yet another season until he finally hangs up the headset for good. When that'll be, I don't know. But, yeah, it differs. The routines that I undergo for Saturdays. Not so much during the week when we have the Thursday night games, the Friday night games. We have the Tuesdays and the Wednesdays for all the Maction action. So they have to be acknowledged. Really, any game involving any two teams that I have helmets and lanyards for, those are the ones we're going to get picked from. And we continue to add on to the collection. And incidentally, and I forgot to mention this at the top, we will have two new traditional at-large automatic bids in the form of 2 more service academies to go with, along with Army, Navy, and Air Force. And that would be the United States Coast Guard Academy Bears and their chief rival, the very same team that we beat in our bowl game last year with W&J and the James Lino Bowl, the USMMA, which is short for the United States Merchant Marine Academy. So they will be featured on the 2024 helmet tree this fall. In fact, the U.S. Coast Guard will be on this year's whiteout as well, so they get to do some double duty over the holidays for sure. So we got a lot to look forward to between now and, well, you guys know. You guys know. I've been ready for this since last season. And I won't even, you know what, I won't even dive into the fact of what went down between the NCAA now having to pay $2.8 million for the whole name, image, and likeness stuff. I'm not even going to touch that because it's separate from the game. The game is all I'm in it for. That's it. No more, no less. The NFL has never learned that, and it never will. That's why I don't deal with them anymore. We'll play I may watch a game here and there if it doesn't involve a team with an outside distraction. But it seems like every team has one, some more than others. But we're not going to touch that. College football is where I belong. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I work at a college. So I'm very excited about what is about to transpire 50 days from now when I actually take my first snaps in the college football video game. And one person the other day, and I can't remember where it came from, had said that I should take a delay a game penalty. Take a delay a game penalty and savor the moment. Not a bad idea. You know, if it were up to me, I'd do it too. I would also suggest that if you're the visiting team, you should wear the home team's colors. USC, UCLA, that kind of thing. They're the only ones that can get away with that. And it's all good though. But anyway, we are about to close up shop. It's coming up on 30 minutes since launch time of this episode, and we're going to go ahead and do a quick recap of everything that we talked about today, except for the questions, of course. Big thanks to the College Football Commission again, and of course to my wonderful friend John in Cranberry, not only for the questions, but I look forward to seeing you at Cameron this fall. You and your lovely wife, Erin. Cannot wait. To recap, the PS5's been bought. It has been installed. There's a headset mic. Might be put into good use for some broadcasts. College Football 25 pre-ordered with a 3-day early access with the deluxe edition. And before I even take those first snaps, I got to put myself through the pages of Lindy's college football preview issue, which I will be getting soon. And of course, W&J will have a new football field installed this fall in light of the recent events in which the field back in April got completely flooded and waterlogged beyond all recognition. So I told you we had a lot to talk about, and we covered it all in 30 minutes time. So with that being said, with 30 seconds to spare, from all of me to all of you, thank you very much. This has been the College Football Kickoff Show 10Q series, and we will talk to you hopefully soon, right around the time that we get down to the business of doing College Football 25. Once again, have yourselves a great one, and 10Q.